This is a key structural shift Luke Gromen is calling out if Bitcoin is beginning to decorrelate from tech beta, NDX, and move more like a neutral reserve asset. That implies rotation in who is accumulating and why. It suggests sovereign or macro allocators, those who care less about speculative upside and more about systemic hedge characteristics, are stepping in. It has production costs like gold, but is digital, portable, and censorship resistant like no other asset. If global trade continues to fragment and commodity-based FX regimes emerge, petro yuan, gold-linked rails, BRICS token, Bitcoin may begin behaving as an option on monetary reset. Watching this divergence from NDX is not just about price, it's about signal migration from risk asset to strategic collateral. So I thought this was interesting because people trade, like, depending on where you live in the world or who you are, what you are, like, you look at Bitcoin as a completely different thing. Like, everyone's like looking at Bitcoin and it's like, for some people, it's like just this gamble thing. For some people, it's the hardest money to ever exist. Like, they want to store their wealth, their life in it. For certain traders, it's just a strategic allocation, right? For some people, it's, they need this to live, right? If you're like in Nigeria or another place and you're hyperinflating currency, whatever, like, you need this, right? But now they're saying also, like, as a trading similar to gold, it has these other characteristics, and people are starting to treat it as such. I just thought it was kind of interesting to talk about and bring up. What do you guys think about that?
Now that you have like the ETFs and companies using it as a reserve,
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I think people are going to come around to it and start to understand it in a different way because, like you said, it's more than just monetary value or like store of value.
It's more than just like a risk on asset tech trade, right? Which is kind of what we're kind of seeing, this decorrelation there. I think that's what Luke Gromen talks about. Luke Gromen has tons of guys, a genius, got such great articles and takes on stuff. So I just thought it was interesting to point out.
And the programmability part of it, I don't think we have even tapped on the surface of that, like the ability to program it to do certain things without your middlemen.
Yeah, I personally think that the programmable asset of it is going to kind of what we switch to whenever we're trying to, like, say I buy, I don't know, a car part from a store and I buy it through a token, and then if I ever have an issue and I want to say, hey, I want to get a refund or get a new part, I can say I activate that part of the token and it goes to the smart contracts, and I start going in negotiations with either whatever automated systems they have or through a representative from that company as well. And so that's going to be the new way we track everything, and actually have paper trails for everything.
It'll definitely autonomize like the way transactions are being made. You won't need a point of sale, or it might just be tap go.
Yeah,
supply chain directly like tied into the blockchain.
It's a new technology, and we have no idea what we're doing with it still.
Right.
It's still like
I think
of the bot.
Bitcoin is less programmable than other blockchains. It's more of like this digital collateral.
I'm thinking more like Ethereum and Binance.
Okay. You're thinking of like Ethereum and certain, smart contract platforms. And I think, there will be programmability in the future to do insurance contracts that,
Well, also, the Stacks protocol, STX, is supposed to bring programmability into Bitcoin. So maybe Bitcoin itself isn't the programmed thing, but other layers around it.
Yeah. No. I think that is definitely where you're going to have a lot of that innovation will be built on top of other layers of Bitcoin. It's just natively on other chains right now. You can kind of have that programmability now where you can say, hey, every month, at 5 p.m., send 100 USDT out of this wallet or whatever, right? To pay for the subscription or pay for this, right? So you can automate a lot of those things. But yeah, interesting rabbit hole to go down, but not quite what I'm looking at here.
Yeah. I think to go back to sort of the concept of volatility over the past couple of weeks, I mean, it's sort of blown me away that there was a period in which the S&P and Nasdaq was much more volatile than Bitcoin, which is sort of an interesting turn of the coin, because everyone has always said, Bitcoin is extremely volatile. It's, and so I'm curious to see how this continues to play out. But the interesting thing is when you look at sort of the S&P swinging, 5 percentage points and the mempool is basically empty, people are holding on. I think that's a really good sign that people start to see at least Bitcoin as sort of a store of value. Now, there's an argument down the line of the programmability of Bitcoin and how we can use it in different ways. But I think starting with the like store of value is what I think is probably the first step of unlocking all the other ones.
I totally agree with that. I think that's the key narrative, the key aspect, which it really is. I mean, like a money that cannot be debased, that the issuance schedule cannot be changed, the hard cap of supply, this discovery of absolute scarcity, I think is really the foundation, and another thing to be built on top of that. So no doubt. Here's a take from our friend Lawrence Lepard. Larry posted here, Raul Paul chart, and I think we talked about this a little bit last time, but Raoul Paul's take and thesis is really that like Bitcoin price very closely lags behind and follows like global M2 money supply like being increased. So like, here you got a 12-week lead on that, and he just, I don't know if he I think someone said he massages the chart a little bit. I don't know if that's true or not, but basically every time M2 money supply goes through the roof, Bitcoin price is on a lag of 3, 4, 5, 6 months, maybe whatever it may be. We'll follow that very closely. So basically saying like better labeling would say Bitcoin has shifted 12 weeks back. Look at the growth in global M2, which is now at $110,000 beat, if I am reading this correctly. Nice work, Raoul. So very fascinating. Very fascinating take. So there's a little bit of alpha for you. Not financial advice, but there's a strong correlation there, it seems, based on the history. Right. So
I mean, both M2 money supply is increasing, but also hash rate. I think like you haven't seen a significant price move in Bitcoin, and yet people are continuing to add more miners to the mix. And so that shows you that at least people are willing to make a long-term bet that the price of Bitcoin could appreciate over time.
I think that's many of us who have been around for a lot of cycles, right?